Welcome to Frank Staiano Explains. Today's topic is touch typing. Touch typing, I recommend you learn this skill as early as possible. It is an investment that will pay for itself many times over throughout the course of your computing career and indeed your whole life. Learn touch typing as early as you can and you won't regret it. What is touch typing? Touch typing is simply the process of typing on a keyboard, typing on a computer keyboard without looking at the keys. So your hands land on the keyboard with these little references on F and J for your two index fingers. You sit comfortably, your hands are on the keyboard and your hands know where to go without you having to look down. So you instead look at your editor window and provide the cursor is in there. The quick brown fox, what do you do? Jumps over the lazy dog. Quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And if I make a mistake, I feel I mistyped a letter, I can see immediately what it was and I fix it. The quick, it's supposed to be capital T, brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. This is a sentence that has all the letters in the alphabet. So the fact that I'm looking at the screen where the letters appear allows me to identify typing mistakes immediately and fix them as they happen, instead of not noticing them on the spot and then not noticing them when rereading the whole sentence and then leaving them in the document. Another reason why touch typing is useful is that if I take a book, if I take anything I need to transcribe and I'm opening this book in some random place, okay, and I copy a sentence from this book, indeed, the higher in the politico-military realm are the events, the more important becomes cryptanalysis. Okay, so I write that. Indeed, and here I'm not actually looking at the screen, so I may have made mistakes. Indeed, the higher in the politico-military, okay, I made a mistake there, realm are the events, the more important becomes cryptanalysis. But at least I am looking at the text and I don't lose track of my position in there, whereas if I had to keep switching between the text and where are the keys that I'm tapping, and then sometimes also this, it would be much more time-consuming and subject to more errors. So it is convenient to be able to look at the text you're copying instead of having to look at the keys. It's also sometimes interesting to be able to look at your correspondent, look at the person that you're speaking with. I mean, maybe you're taking notes while they speak, and I can look into this camera while I am typing this. I can look into this camera while I'm typing this, and it means you can still look at their facial expressions and make them feel that you are engaged with them. You're not doing something else, looking at your keyboard while they're there talking to you. It feels like, maybe I should wait until he's finished with his computer. No, you're still engaged with them, and at the same time you can take your own notes. In order to type properly at the keyboard, you need first of all to sit in a comfortable position at the correct height. It's important to have a height adjustable chair, so that this, for example, is too low because my forearms are going down. But this is the correct position where my forearms are horizontal, like they would be if you play the piano, and my my arms are lifted up. They're not resting on the desk. They're not resting on one of these stupid wrist rests that you sometimes get. They are just held by my arms, and the backs of my hands are flat, horizontal. They should not be like this, because this is also going to give you trouble. I'll talk more about that some other time. And your index fingers rest on these two special keys that have a little bump, the F and the J. All keyboards you'll see have something to recognize F and J from touch rather than sight. And then each key is the responsibility of a specific finger. So this finger is on the F, but he will also be responsible for the R, the V, the 4, and this finger is on the D. He will also do the E, the 3, the C, and so on. And this J will do the U, 7, M. And that's it. So you will practice, you will learn which finger has to hit which key, and then from then on you just don't look at the keyboard at all. You only look at your screen, and you type again the quick brown fox. And it's more important that you type accurately than that you type fast. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Good. And when you've typed and you're thinking what to type next, then it's okay to rest. It's okay to put your hands on the wrist rest. If you have a wrist rest, it's okay to put them on the table and things like that. But not while you're typing. If you do that while you're typing, then that will cause problems. So good posture, straight back, and your fingers know where to go on the keys. Make a point of not looking down. In fact, when I learned to touch type, I was around 20 or so, I made use of a program. It was the days of MS-DOS. The program was called Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing. I don't know if it still exists. And it was a DOS program. He would type, he would teach you what to do with each finger. He would give you exercises, graduated exercises where you start just exercising the fingers without moving them from the home row, so they stay over here, and then gradually move on to another row, then another more things, and so on. And you type, they select words that only contain movements within the rows that you're practicing, and so on. Nowadays there are gazillions of free typing tutor programs, and you should try one that suits you and give it a go. Well, there exist keyboards made for people who are learning how to touch type, where all the keys that are supposed to be hit by, say, the index finger are painted yellow, and all the ones that you are supposed to hit with your middle finger are painted green, and all the ones with the next finger are some other color, and so on. This is a bit self-contradictory, because to get the hint you have to look at the keys, and you're supposed not to look at the keyboard in order to make progress. I guess it's a stepping stone while you're learning, just so that it's always that finger. But what I did when I was learning was basically the opposite of this strategy. I took my keyboard and I took one of these snap-off blade knives, like one of these. Took one of these and I scratched away all the keycaps so that I would remove the letter from every keycap, and so all the keycaps were all scratched, but you couldn't read any letter on any of them. And then at that point I was forced to just know where the fingers should go, because I had no other way of knowing what to press. So my keyboard had no writings on it anymore after this trip. Didn't look pretty, but I learned to touch type. Basically swim or sink strategy. Burn your boats. And you don't have to go to that extreme, but it is important that as you are practicing, you don't look at the keyboard. Resist that temptation if you want to get anywhere. Make use of some typing tutor, do the exercises, practice daily, and if you invest maybe 6 months into that, by 6 months I guarantee, if you do it daily, that you will have reached a level of proficiency such that you can actually use it in your daily work, probably maybe even sooner. depends how dedicated, how devoted, how keen you are to get somewhere. That will make a big difference. As you learn touch typing, please don't worry too much about your typing speed. 50 words per minute, 60 words per minute. There are people who obsess about that. They want to reach 75 words per minute, or 100 words per minute, or 125 words per minute. Well, this is all very impressive, but in practice it is not that useful, or at least it's certainly not as useful as being able to write at a slower speed, but reliably and accurately. What does matter is to have a good channel from your brain to your editor without things that get in the way of looking for where the keys are and so on. One suggestion I have is that when you become proficient at touch typing, you reward yourself by going out and buying a keyboard that you really like typing on. The kind of keyboard that you get with your computer by default is usually some kind of cheap rubbish like this one. It doesn't feel, at least to me, it doesn't feel that good. You're never quite sure at which point in the key travel the key actually registered. Did you hit hard enough for it to get there? Anyway, I don't like it. You may pay arbitrarily high amounts for keyboards, and there's religious wars about which keyboards are best. One of the ones that almost everyone thinks of as highly rated is the original IBM keyboard that came with the IBM PC. In fact, the original one with the IBM PC had the function keys on the side. I know because my father had the first model of IBM PC. He was working at IBM at the time. And I've known that from the early 1980s. I had the more common one is the one that came with the IBM PC 80, which has these other keys, home and the inverted T arrow keys, which were not on the original one, and separated, which separate the main alphabetical thing from the numerical keypad. This layout was introduced by the 80. So I got myself one of these IBM 80 keyboards many years later. I got it from a charity shop for very cheap, and I happily programmed on that keyboard for a number of years until one day I spilled some Coke on it and it stopped working, and I was not able to revive it, and I very reluctantly, after taking it apart and being unable to fix it, I had to get rid of it. But after that I found other clicky keyboard, none as good as that one with the IBM one, which since I've taken it apart, I remember what was inside. It was a spring inside the key that when you pressed, you had to press comparatively hard in order to make the spring bend. But when it bent, pew, it gave, and your finger would then travel quite far in comparison, immediately fall down this well of the key. So you press hard, resistance, and then resistance disappears all of a sudden. And there was a click, and at the end of this, the spring had a kind of foot that banged on some contact, and that's how the character registered, and that gave a distinctive click and a distinctive tactile feedback on your finger, which really told you exactly the instant that the key had been pressed. Anyway, great keyboard, fantastic keyboard. Other keys click. Romantic people would say non-clicks, as well as that one. In fact, other clicky keyboard of good quality can be found. I had several others. About 10 years ago, I went on sabbatical at Google, and I brought my keyboard with me because I wanted to type on a keyboard that I found comfortable. I didn't want them to give me a rubbish thing like this one. And I was given an open plan office desk. There was with people next to me, and it was deemed that my keyboard was too loud and was annoying other people, and so I couldn't use it. I was very pissed off at that. Okay, so I was given a choice of other keyboards that I could use. Some of them were obviously, your standard issue rubbish thing that I couldn't stand. I was, told to try whatever I liked. I could buy another one, I suppose, but it had to be not as noisy as that one. So one of the things that they offered me to try was this Apple keyboard. I wasn't using Apple, I was on Linux anyway. But of course all these things are USB, so you can connect any keyboard to any computer. So I tried this thing, and to my surprise, this quiet mechanism actually had a tactile feedback that I liked, and I grew accustomed to it. And after my time at Google, I decided I liked it enough that I would actually buy it for myself. So I ended up having these Apple keyboards here at the university. I have two, one for the actual Apple computer and one for the Linux computer. I have another one in Trinity College. I have two more at home. I've basically converted all my workstations to using these Apple keyboards. Do this experiment for yourself. Try a number of keyboards. Find the one that gives you the tactile feedback that makes you happy typing on it, and then go ahead and invest. And cheap keyboards are about 10 or 15 pounds. Expensive keyboards can be 100, 200 pounds and so on. But a keyboard is something that you use every day for several hours, and so it is worth investing in one that you feel happy typing on, especially as a reward for having learned to touch type. If you have learned to touch type, you deserve buying yourself the best keyboard you can buy for yourself, whatever it costs, because you're definitely going to amortize it over your lifetime of typing. Once you learn to touch type, you have to learn on a particular keyboard layout. So you're aware that different languages have different keyboard layouts. In particular, the region over here of the pinky finger seems to have quite a bit of variation among national keyboards, and sometimes these keys are moved around. This region over here of the right pinky also has variations, and for example, I'm Italian. In an Italian keyboard over here there's plenty of accented letters, because we have accented letters in Italian, and you have to be able to type them. For reasons unknown to me, the US and UK keyboard, even though they both use English, move some of the keys around, and for example the double quotes symbol, which is over here, and the @ symbol get exchanged between the US and the UK keyboard. So this Apple one that I have is a US keyboard, and this one over here is the UK keyboard, this rubbish plasticky one. And you see the @ symbol is here and the double quote is here, whereas the @ symbol is here and the double quote symbol is here. So I told you I learned when I was 20. I had an Italian keyboard, and I removed all the keycaps with the Stanley blade. And what keyboard layout did I learn? Well, I reasoned that if I was going to invest in learning keyboard layout, I wanted to be able to type on any keyboard that I encountered. And there was a facility in DOS. There was a key combination you could press where you would bypass any keyboard layout that was installed, and you would get back to the one that was supported natively by the BIOS, which was the US keyboard. I think it was something like Control Alt F1 or something along those lines. I can't remember. I should have probably looked it up before the interview. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I knew that I could always get back to the US keyboard with a key cord, and so I decided I will just learn the US keyboard layout. And I don't care what keyboard I'm given, because whatever the keyboard is, I'm not going to look at it, and I'm just going to switch to US keyboard and use that. So I can use any keyboard, regardless of what it says on the keycaps, with the keyboard layout that I am used to, which was the US keyboard, and I have now evolved when Windows was introduced and all these things started being a bit more international, another layout was introduced called US International, which has a feature called dead keys. So I can use the dead keys to type accents by first typing this apostrophe key and then typing the letter E, and I get an accented E. That's the dead key. Another thing to do with differences in keyboard layouts is that not all keyboards have the same shape for keys. And so this means that just being able to remap the logical keyboard layout to the one you're used to will not always work. In the sense that, for example, in this keyboard, the Enter key has this inverted L shape. So you see here, that's the shape of the Enter key. And next to it, there's a square bracket and curly bracket key. And next to it, below, there's this backslash and pipe key. Now, if I look at the US keyboard, right? This is the US keyboard, external US keyboard made by the same company. This is the shape of the Enter key in here. This is the shape of the Enter key here. And so this key with the brackets is over here. And this key here with the backslash is over here. So the logical shape of the Enter key would be to cover this and this. If it maybe this and this would cover this and this. So these keys together are somehow in the same place as these keys together, but they mean different things. If I train myself to hit Enter in this part of the key, when I move to this keyboard, I will hit this instead of Enter, and I will be always annoyed. If I train myself on this keyboard to hit Enter over here, when I'm on this other keyboard, I will hit over here. So the only thing that works is to treat the Enter key as only the least common denominator between those keyboards that you switch between, and so I should learn to only hit Enter here, ignore all that part, and in this keyboard, ignore that part, because if I consistently hit only here, then that will work everywhere, and there's no way that I can remap things in software that will cater for this difference. This is a pain. It's even more of a pain on some completely idiotic keyboard layouts where these arrows are embedded inside the place of the Shift key. So the arrows where IBM originally put them, or God intended them to be, is to the side. Now in a laptop there isn't as much space, so people tend to put them under here. In some more stupid laptops, they put them here with full height, such that the arrow goes in here, and then the thing next to the arrow, they still put the Shift. And so if you're used to only hitting the end part of the Shift, then you are going to do fine. But if you sometimes hit the middle or the left part of this right Shift, then you're going to hit the up arrow, and you're going to be extremely pissed off. So when you are still learning, when you still have chance to decide what your muscle memory is going to be, then please take this into account and train yourself only to hit Enter over here, only to hit the right Shift over here, so as to avoid this type of problem. It may seem like something that's totally trivial now, but by the time you're used to doing something else, then you will regret it if you have to operate on a keyboard that isn't yours but has this other annoying feature. Okay, so it will take you several months of assiduous daily practice to become any good at this, to be able to make use of this skill in your daily practice. But it is well worth doing. I really recommend investing into learning touch typing, because as a computer person, you will definitely be using a keyboard several hours a day, every day of your working life. And even if you're not a computer person, you're still I mean, we live in a computer-based society. You will still have lots of interactions with a computer keyboard, if nothing else, to just write emails, which everybody does, whether they are computer people or not. And throughout your working life, and even outside of your working life, you may be, you will still be writing messages to the people you know, even not professionally. You may be wanting to write the book you always wanted to write, or you may be programming even outside your job just because you enjoy programming, or other things like that. Many things where being able to type accurately is going to make a difference. And this is a general principle of anything. I mean, I was going to say of computer science, but it's a general principle of anything, that if there's one activity that you do a lot of, then it's worth optimizing that activity. It's pointless trying to optimize everything. It's a waste of time. As a computer scientist, you should just profile your program first and see where most of the time is spent. And where the most time is spent, that's the part that is worth optimizing. So if every day you spend a substantial time typing on a keyboard, then it is worth optimizing the process of typing on a keyboard and making it so that there is a smooth, unhindered channel from your brain into the computer, where this typing is just something that happens transparently without getting in your way. Learn touch typing. It will pay for this investment of a few months many times over across the next 50 plus years of your life, and enjoy it. And one more thing I need to say is that when you do your typing, and actually that's regardless of whether you are touch typing or hunt and peck typing and looking at the keyboards, whether you're looking at the keycaps or not, you have to use a keyboard in a safe way. Have good posture, and type without resting your hands on the desk or on wrist rest. I think I'll make a separate video on this topic, because using a keyboard every day, if done improperly, can be a very dangerous activity. Can be an activity that brings you extreme, excruciating pain, and I speak from first-hand experience, and medical conditions that take years to get out of, if ever. So I really want you not to end up in this situation. Alright, so learn touch typing and enjoy it for the rest of your life. And if you like this video, please stick a thumbs up on it and share it with all your friends. If you want more videos like this one, including the one about RSI and what to do about it, how to avoid it, then subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and it will come in one of the next ones. See you.